Hello and welcome to this second first look exploring session looking at Misogonus, a manuscript play from the 1570s. We don't know precisely when in the 1570s. Dates vary depending on your point of view. It is a play that comes, I say, in manuscript form. It is quite damaged. We are missing an ending, so no spoilers are available because we can't spoil the ending because we're not quite 100% certain how it ends. We can probably guess. But there are also occasional breaks in the text. The performers will either just pause pointedly and then continue speaking, or that if it's a long bit of damage, they might just go blah-de 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 blah, or however they feel to. We've occasionally gone for interpretive dance as a way of denoting when breaks in the manuscript appear. I don't think it's too bad with most of the texts we're doing today. It gets considerably worse in our final session. We've got 3 quite long scenes to be getting through with today. We're looking at Act 2, Scene 4 through to Act 3, Scene 1. All of which are very long scenes, as opposed to the last session where we had lots of individual scenes but which were all effectively the same unit of action. So it's going to be interesting to see what the difference here. So we're going to be reading a lot more text in a row, giving it some steam to find out what's going on. To help discover that, we have in this room a wonderful selection of readers. So today, reading Misogonus, the youth of the play is.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm holding out for Catzilla the film.
Indeed, as indeed we all are. In-joke that may become apparent later on. Reading Sir John and Codrus today is...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
Reading Cacurgus, a sort of vice-like figure, and also Liturgus today is...
I'm Lois, a retired academic living in London.
Reading Eupelas today is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Oenophilus today is...
Hello, Helen Good, historian in Yorkshire.
And reading Orgalus today is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor and translator in Lancashire.
Reading Philogonus and a Clerk today is...
Hi, Rachael Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
And reading Melissa and Alison today is...
Briony Sparrow, I'm an actor from the East Midlands.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading what stage directions we have, inferred or otherwise, as well as what's definitely in the manuscript. So, without further ado, we're going to dive into Act 2, Scene 4. This is a scene that is going to feature variously Misogonus, Melissa, who we've not met before, Orgalus, Oenophilus, his 2 servants, Cacurgus, a quite problematic vice figure, Sir John, and later on a Clerk. So various people will be entering and exiting. At the beginning of the scene, we have the entrance of Misogonus, Melissa, Orgalus, and Oenophilus.
Come on, my sweetheart, how fare you? Be merry, what stands your mind to? Speak and we'll get it. Ah, my heart of gold, sweet as a cherry, what is it you fancy? Speak, one shall go fetch it.
There is nothing, my true love, that I can desire. I have enough only when you I embrace.
God's popularum, she hath set him on fire. In her love ticks, the queen has a passing good grace.
Tell me, fair lady, will you range in the field? Will you hear the birds sing and smell the sweet flower?
I know the delights that the meadow can yield. I had rather, an it please you, stay here in this bower.
What then, my heartroot, will you drink some more wine? Oenophilus, go fetch me here a whole hogshead.
You shall have in haste of the best muscadine. Orgalus, that will be good to supply my cod's head.
It's needless, mine own, I pray you, send him not. I have drunk so much that my bellying groans.
What will you then have? Something shall be got that will please you. Will you have a cast at the bones?
And you will, my darling, I am therewith content. I played not, believe me, this many a day.
Hear ye, my youths, get me dice incontinent. At what game, fair maiden, do you most love to play?
I care not at what, so you have a small stake. Money, I tell you, with me now, and then draweth low.
Money, woman. There's money. Play that for my sake. If you lack any money, look that I know.
There's neither of us two half a dime, more or less. We were never in our lives, I am sure, worse stored.
God's body, get me dice, or I shall you bless. If I have them not quickly, I'll swaddle you with a cord.
A man may go all this town round about and find not a die, I think, of my conscience.
Pack you, you villain, or I'll slit you through snout, and do your deed quickly without any dalliance.
It were good also, my joy, if some mate he could get that would bear us company and make us some sport.
So I might perhaps through all the streets jet, and losing my labour, soil myself in the dust.
Go when I bid thee, and get thee someone, or from my service I'll turn thee like a beggarly jack.
Hark, a word, Orgalus. What sayst thou to Sir John? Neither cards nor dice, I'm sure he doth lack.
What should I do with the priest, thou buzzardly beast? I'll have some younger, and though there be any in the town.
How doth he differ, I pray you, from the rest? He's no more a priest than you are, and he were out of his gown.
Disdain you, Sir John? As good as you will have his company, as the fellowliest priest that is in this shire. For all his lusty guts, he's known for his honesty. Has not one drop of priest blood in him, methink I dare swear.
Of all loves, I pray, let your man fetch him hither. I have heard a good report of him, and it be he that I mean.
Aye, go for him, sirrah, and come again together. If he be such a one, I would speak with him fain.
I am acquainted with him, sir, and you please, I'll go call him. Both at cards and dice, I know him to be skillful. He'll not stick to dance if company befall him. In game with a gentleman, he'll ne'er be wilful.
And exit Oenophilus.
Sir, I am sure he is not without a dozen pair of dice. I durst jeopard he's now at cards or at tables. A piebald. Nay, soft you, he'll yet be more wise. I tell you, he is none of this new start-up rabbles. There's no honest pastime, but he puts it in yore. Not one game comes up, but he has it by the back. Every wench in the town's acquainted with his lure. It's pity, so God help me, that ever he should lack.
I shall think the time long till I see him come in. I was beholden to him. I remember when 'twas.
Though the drumbledurry be long, at length he'll him bring. I am sure my bonny wench will take no nays.
Enter Cacurgus.
God's body, so soon have you found out your minion. Is this my mistress that shall be? Oh, Saint Cuckold bless you. This a smirking wench indeed. This a fair maid Marian. She's none of those coy dames. She's as good as Brown Bessie.
I befool your heart, sirrah. You're too full of your prate. Her name's Dame Melissa, my master's own spouse.
Oh, pardon, good madam. Will you have a nutmeg to grate? Mincing lass, a honey sweet blouse.
How likest thou her, Cacurgus? Is she not like a diamond in thine eye? Is she not a sparking one? Dost thou not think her an angel?
Would you give me leave to get a near on her? I would do it by and by. I would do it with a trice, I swear by the vangel.
Out, arrant whoremaster, wouldst thou meddle with my woman? What, your noun mistress, your master's noun wife?
Oh, I cry me mercy, sir. I had thought she'd been your leman. Oh, I pray God send you many and a lovely long, guess what?
What, my Kraut? Let him alone. This is your jester. It doth me good to hear some on's merry conceits.
Faith, my coney, you may know that by his vesture. The knave's full of bitchery, has a budget full of cheats.
And re-enter Oenophilus.
I've been for your man of the church, and watch you where I had him. In the alehouse at Whipperguinea, as close as a burr.
And why brought him not with thee?
I warrant you, I bade him, and had pled but thy tricks. He'll come around as a purr.
Did I not tell you? I would he were unpriested, by Jiz. There's too few such as he is. He would make you a fine man. He'll not bash to grope a trawl, to smack and to kiss. Oh, I have danced and carded a whole week and ne'er blan.
Good Lord, how it grieveth me that so long he doth linger. Till he come, I shall think every minute 7 year.
He shall come at 20 times at the becking of my finger. With a whoop, I'll have him now by and by. Here. What ho? Sir John? Sir John!
Enter Sir John.
Here, hostess, I come, Quater.
Come on, Sir John. You have been in some forfeit. My mistress sends in haste. Your pace you must mend.
I was so fast in that, I could not thence get. But where is the gentlewoman that for me did send?
Here, to Misogonus. I brought him at your worship's request, and this be not a right man, yourself be judge.
Welcome, Sir John. Now sure he's a speaking priest. It's pity by my Christendom that thou shouldst be such a drudge.
If your worship lack a gamester, I'm a gamester very fair. For £1 or 2, I'll keep you company by day or by night, at cards, dice, or tables, or anything I will not spare. To keep a gentleman company, I do greatly delight.
Now surely, my cockerel, this was good luck, that so honest a cope's mate were fetched us today.
But, Master Ficker, I must needs go challenge this book. There's no remedy, I'll have it, and my lesson go say.
Bestow on them, Sir John. 'Tis a good merry Greek. These books by profession of right he must have.
I'll find out my lesson, or I'll over all seek. Oh, here I have now. Here's K for a knave.
What game, Master Parson, do you now most acquaint? Let's have some fine game that came latest up.
I have many good games, madam, as rough, moor, and saint, or God a mercy, good fellow, when about goes the cup.
Nay, but I'd rather at the dice have a cast. Have you any dice? Let us see, Master Picker.
Dice I have plenty. You shall see them in haste. Here's even my study, if I hit of good liquor.
What games can you play at? Let's have those you use weekly. We trifle the time. Let us stick to our tackling.
To tic-tac, mum-chance, or novum come quickly. Something, anything, it's my daily fackling.
Nuncle, good nuncle, draw a card, and thou lovest me. Draw what thou wilt, for a penny. It's thy brother.
What, I believe from my cunning thou provest me. My gown to thine, it will fall out another.
Done, Sir John. £20. I've won the priest's gown. Look here, my masters, do you not know him by his shanks?
God's checking the priest stoned. I'd rather have lost a crown. The fool has beguiled him with his knavish pranks.
Come, let us make the match to Novum, we five. Prepare yourselves, everyone, even battle row.
On then, a God's name, as many as will thrive. I pray you, give the priest leave to have the first throw.
Set them, my masters. A good luck, I begin. Rise, winnings, luckily, 7 is my cast.
By the mass, I see well the priest is like to win. Soft friend, give me your dice, your turn is past.
Half stake between you and me this time, Master Vicar. At all this, Orgalus now happily rise.
Throw, and thou wilt throw. Why throwst thou no thicker? Throw, dreaming dissert, or else give me the dice.
God's scaring. I've lost a noble at 2 sets. Why dice? No luck. Tonight will all be gone.
By the mass, master, I think the vicar will beat us. 40 shillings at least, I'm sure he hath won.
How now, mine own blossom? How like you this sport? Doth not rejoice you such pastime to use?
They can have no better, I am sure, of the court. I had rather be your wife than one of the stews.
Now, Marcus Mercurius, help thy master at a pinch. It's mine, and were there 40 pounds at the stake.
The priest's hand in the mustard pot! The knave! Throw it an inch! Has some dice advantage? Mine oath I durst take.
What, luck, wilt thou never turn? Why, bones, what mean ye? I thought 'twould come at length. This was well drawn.
Said lustily, my boykins, or else I will stain ye by the mother kin of God that was knavishly thrown.
God have mercy for that good dice, yet that came i' the nick, one good stake in an hour is worth a many dribblings.
What, faint ye, my children? Fie, that's a coward's trick. Let me have round game, I'll none of these nibblings.
Who wins now? My masters, who pays here to the box? Is the priest's hand in the honey pot yet?
Thou'dst get nothing here unless it be knocks, except that this time can have a good hit.
How now, vicar? How goeth the world on your side? What, doth Dame Fortune now begin to frown?
A pox consume it. It will now all slide, at every cast I lease a noble or a crown.
Priest, down with that ruddock, or I'll give over. I'll not throw over bare board. Set, and thou'lt play.
By God and all the world, I shall never this recover. There, 'tis be lucky yet, it's gone without stay.
Nay, I'll have none of that. Friend, you play not now with boys. Every little wag of pasty could say, not stake, not draw.
Tut, priest, bring out. Thou hast it, will none of these toys. We are no such sucklings to take Lubin law.
By the body of our Lord Jesus Christ, they're all habs or nabs. Either now come, or the devil and his dame go withal.
It's my turn. Be true to your master then, my babes. Oh, lively luck, I have won a whole royal.
By St. Mary, I beshrew you, your play is too sore. Your men have a quarrel against me and the priest.
They just go like a couple of names, I promised them therefore. But let them do their worst, thou'st not lack by God's blessed.
God's sight, would you not trust me? There's my gown for a pledge. I'll not leave by the 5 wounds, while I am worth a grey groat.
What's his gown gone too? Then he may go hang at the hedge. Has the merchant a shilling so soon to 9pence brought?
Care not, man, I'll be thy surety, they do thee no wrong. Orgalus, play fair, you are but a jangler.
And bell rings.
Oh, by Saint Sunday, methinks I hear the saunce bell go ding-dong. Oh, Sir John, by the matins you must out for wrangler.
I'll play still, come out what will. I'll never give over the lurch. Let them ring till their arses ache, I know the worst.
Away, priest. By this time they're all come to the church. Oh, for shame, get thee hence. Priest, thou'lt be abominably cursed.
God's body is a right man indeed. Priest, keep thy farm, is worth you all by the mass. Now I see he's no starter. There's money, stick to it, I warrant thou'st have no harm. If thou needst the ordinary, I'll get thee a charter.
By God, I thank you, sir. My parishioners, I'm sure, be content to miss service one night, so they know I am well occupied.
Oh, it's no matter, parson, so they come of a good intent. I'm sure they care not how little they be notified.
Ha, then, for all Christian souls, a man or a mouse, first win all at this cast, I durst lay my benefice.
The priest now again's as busy as a body louse. I'll keep my money while I had. I pray he go to service.
Enter the clerk.
DC Hick. Is Sir John here at dice? Can any man tell? My gaffers be all come a pretty while since. What, Sir John? Did you not hear when I fiddled the bell? They're all come, in good faith. I pray you go hence.
My boy, tell them he is now busy with his friends. He would come full fain, thou mayst see, if he might.
Pray thee, say so, Jack. Hold thee. There's somewhat to spend, and they'll needs hide. They'st have a couple the next Sunday night.
Art but a fool, priest, to be so obedient. I would make my clerk serve this once, and I was as thee.
You say well, sir, as long as 'tis not the holy time of Lent. And thou wilt say, Jack, or they'st have none for me.
Tell him what he should say then, and let him be packing. The fellow would do it as well as thou, I warrant him, for a need.
Faith, Jack, it's no matter, and all thy lessons be lacking. Say a Magnificat, Nunc Dimittis, and even end with the creed.
What? Shall he leave out the Psalms and his Paternoster? What good will the creed do without those and his Ave?
If they'll ask where Sir John is, we're all here, one a cluster, 4 knaves beside my master and his mistress. God save ye.
I'll patch it as well as I can, but if you knew who were there, you'd leave the dice with all your heart for one wanton look.
Is Susan Sweetlips come? Mass Jack, I'll go see her. I pray you, sir, give me leave, but even go to turn him my book.
Now, Syntheus, bless ye. Wouldst thou go to the troll? Why, man, here's woman's flesh, and that be the worst.
I have died so long now that my senses be even dull. Gad, when I came thither, I think I was cursed.
Get you hence, Jack, and thyself do the best. Care not for thy money, man, and thou lovest me, tarry still.
Exit the clerk.
By Tetragrammaton and the Black Sanctus, I do thee rest. If thou goest foot far, thy brains I will spill.
Let us exercise some new pastime now. This is stale. The priest and I am weary. We'll no more of this trash.
Content, my minikin, choose what you will. At no game I will fail. What say you to dancing? Shall we dance a little crash?
There's none better, my dear. Come, dare you lead me a dance? Lead you me first, and I hope the vicar will be next.
By St. Patrick, damsel, for your sake, I'll advance. It's good to fetch a frisk once a day. I find it in my text.
Trifle not the time, then. What shall we have? What country dances do you now hear daily frequent?
Vicar of St. Fools, I am sure he would brave. To that dance of all other I see he is bent.
Faith, no, I had rather have shaking o' the sheets, or sundry, or catching of quails, or what, fair Melissa?
Fool, I see by him is given wholly to scornings.
Priest, keep your syncopace and foot it with the best sort. Now, close, quad courier, come aloft, Jack, with a whim-wham.
Oh, lively with high child, and turn thee. Oh, this is good sport. How is priest? Here's for thy learning a chim-cham.
How fare you, Melissa? What, methinks you wax weary? Will you not pause a while? Alas, too sore you do trace.
I'm well, thank you, Sir John. How do you? Are you merry? Of all the priests that e'er I knew, he treads the best pace.
Ah, mine own hen-bird, I must needs lay thee o' the lips. Well vaunted by the mass priest, that's worth a whoop.
By the merry God, how lustily the lover now skips. What's precious, the scab with my mistress doth top.
This a close carver, by the mass, he's a right cock of the kind. The knave's fleshed, you may see, he bites like a cur. A man might rack hell and scarce such a crew find. How the stoned priest doth keep with yon gossip astir. Who'll laugh now, my masters? And you will, I'll make you laugh. I'll serve them a trust as coltish as they are. I can anger them all and but turn it to a scoff. Ye'st see a hurricane, straight away I'll set all ajar. By promise, as you know, The old yokum I should certify when his son from birding home did retire. I'll go tell him now. The deed itself my words will verify. If I make you no good sport, say I'm a liar.
And exit Cacurgus, and we'll pause there before we go into the next scene. I'm quite glad I let that run, because there's an awful lot here that is difficult to get the full appreciation of how that would work just coming from the dialogue. But it's a really nice exposition of gambling. Someone with obviously a gambling problem, a well-known gambling problem. The fact that his clerk rings the bell to call him out, and he's basically just comes into. He's obviously just wandering the streets, going, "Is he gambling anywhere?" Sir John being a sort of generic name for any priest, for long established. So this Sir John is a Sir John as well as Sir John. And yeah, there's so many details here that we were. I think there was a mention in the chat. Does the priest have weighted dice? But no, he actually ends up in this losing streak, and ends up pawning his clothes, and saying, "Well, I'm not going to go to church and you run the service," and he's go, "Well, I'll do my best." But there's someone there you might want to see, and so there's all these various different layers to it, and also this new character Melissa and her relationship with the room and the group. And yeah, it's a really detailed sort of slice of life. It's feeling like a scene that is very, very removable as well. To say, look, you want a tavern scene where we've got drinking, we've got dancing, and that dancing, the detail in the dancing, where they're clearly talking them through the steps. I mean, they're almost ringing the changes for it. It's a fascinating scene. There's lots to dig out of it. Any immediate thoughts anyone wants to throw in about the scene we've just had? Lois?
Yeah, I think I only realized rather late on that Cacurgus all through this is not taking part in the gambling at all. He's in fact commenting to the audience, I think, all the way through. He gets hold of this book at the beginning, which really puzzled me. I mean, I can't make out whether he can read or not, but he seems to have got a book from the Sir John, and then I don't know if he's pretending to read during the rest of the scene and meanwhile commenting to the audience, but something like that's going on, I think.
Yeah, I think it's that element. I think there are only a few lines of dialogue that are in that sort of semi simple speak that he affects.
Yeah.
The rest of it does seem to be mostly asides. And yeah, so he has, yeah, maybe he is, because he picks out the letter K, doesn't he, or something like that. So that's that's as far as he's got with the alphabet. Helen?
I think Melissa may be sober.
Yeah. I think not only sober, but making sure she stays sober as well. I mean, I don't know what she did with the earlier drinks. She talks about having had a lot of drinks, but whether she's been quietly not drinking is an interesting question.
Well,
Briony?
if the aspidistra wilts the next day, we know where she's put them.
Yes.
Yeah, I got this sense as I was reading it that she was in on some knavery here, but I just, I didn't fully understand what was going on in all of that scene, if I'm honest. But yeah.
There's a lot to unpick. I think with unpicking it and acting it, then it should become a lot clearer. But just as the wall of words coming at us, it was quite tricky. Yeah, Melissa is that thing of everyone else going, she are they? Well, they keep talking about her being married to him. I'm going, is that true? Is that literal, or is this just for the evening? And the status that Melissa's holding throughout this scene. Eric, I think, then Francis.
I was going to say that is Sir John borrowed from Haywood's John Tibb and Sir John, or is this a different Sir John? Because there seems to be a very sort of almost a tradition of naming priests Sir John.
Yes, absolutely. They're both feeding from the same tradition of that as a generic name. So yes, absolutely. Helen, briefly before I go to Francis.
I would have to disagree with you slightly there. Sir was an honorific given to clergymen. So you would get Sir all sorts of people. I mean, it is very, very often. They're in the list, Sir Thomas Turner Clerk, and Sir somebody Knight. They are distinguished that way. But I mean, Sir, it was slightly old-fashioned, perhaps, but not for this play. But later, when you get to slightly more rural, but certainly it isn't a Sir John thing. It's a Sir thing.
Well, yeah, but we've got a lot of Sir John priests. I mean,
but you've got a lot of Johns.
Yeah, but it does seem to be quite established as a thing. I'm fairly certain of that. I could be wrong. Lois might have a thing on that.
No, I think there are an awful lot of Sir Johns, and there's another one in, I think it's the Oldcastle play, who's a crook as well, but he's obviously a bad priest. This is obviously a Reformation play, isn't it? I mean, this is all the bad old days and the illiterate Catholic clergy who spend all their time doing almost anything except religion. And there was that earlier line, which was kind of funny, "'Tis popery to go fasting," I think, in the song that they were singing yesterday, which seems to suggest that the author is making fun also of people who use the new religion as a kind of excuse for wild behavior. You know, they wouldn't dream of fasting because that's popish.
But they've still got the Aves.
It's a funny it's a sort of mixture, really. People who are sort of, because it's such an early Reformation play when, you know, there's still some old traditions carrying over and people's language is still full of the other religion.
Yeah, in the 1560s, 70s, there's an awful lot of plays where they're not quite sure what precisely they're doing with language and when they do talk even tangentially about religion. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of dancing going around. Francis, finally, we got you.
And that's okay. Really, I just had the same question you did, Rob. Is Melissa married to Misogonus or not? I'm sort of hoping she is, because I want to see Philogonus's reaction.
Yes. Briony, were you waving as well?
Yes. Apologies. This might be something that comes up a lot in these. I don't know, but I was somewhat taken with there was a by jizz earlier, and I just wondered if anybody could illuminate that expression.
Yeah, it's a contraction of Jesus.
Okay, cool. I didn't think it would mean the same as.
Yeah,
now.
It's an unfortunate sound. We have
in this scene it kind of works because it's all full of sex jokes, so why not?
Eric.
I have to say I quite enjoyed all the sort of what do you call it? Terms of affection. My minikin, my heartroot, my sweetheart with my heart of gold, and like all the sort of piling on the flattery. But you can kind of imagine that he's drunk as well, which I can't pull off very well. But yeah, sort of.
I think the only one who isn't actually paralytic is Melissa. I think all the rest are three sheets in the wind.
Or at least on a spectrum of drunk.
Is John included?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, Sir John is certainly drunk. I'm not sure if Cacurgus is drunk. He kind of wanders into this thing and just comments on it.
Yeah, I would have thought he keeps his wit sharp at all times. He just pretends not to. Other thoughts before the scene effectively continues, even though it's labelled as Act 2, Scene 5, there is more.
I was just thinking it would be really interesting and fun to put this scene on its feet and actually perform it, because you could have a lot of fun with this scene on stage.
It's also figuring out the dice. It's the dice and the way that all of those, when those dice rolls happen, it's quite specific, and it's teasing that into the dialogue. And Sir John getting more obsessed about rolling, I think that's indicated there. Aliki.
Yeah, the dice and also the details of the dance we would have to work out, because all of it depends on it. I only caught one dice roll and I was very pleased with myself for catching it, but there were so many others that were clearly in the scene.
And that dance scene, it reminds me of so many of the, ballroom scenes in films where they're having a conversation and they're passed from partner to partner in very dramatic, flourishy ways. And you've got, the servants calling out the steps. It's like maybe Sir John doesn't know the steps if I think he's one of the dancers, and they're literally calling out, no, to the left, to the right, grab your partner, swing them around, kind of
Execute the chim cham.
Yeah. No, now the Wim Wham. No, Chim Cham, then Wim Wham. That's amateurs. Eric.
Well, that actually fits with the Scottish jig because Kaylee's anyway. They call out the steps for you. I was just going to comment on the fact that you've got like so many names of saints in this, but some of them are obviously made up. It's just interesting and that they kind of.
Can you tell me the rest? I looked up Saint Thias, who is a real saint.
Well, there's Saint Thias. Just like by looking at it, there's Saint Patrick, Saint Sunday, Saint someone else.
I think some of them are just slight distortions of established ones.
Saint Fools.
That's one perhaps for the chat to throw in any ones that we've found. Any additional thoughts before the scene continues? Okay, so does it continue? I think it does continue. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Enter to them as we go to Act 2, Scene 5. We have Daddy arrives. Enter Philogonus, Eupelas at Liturgus.
Oh, merciful Lord God, what a company is here met. What a rabblement of rascals and Rachaels have we here. Why, son, these pernicious practices wilt thou never forget? Alas, Misogonus, wilt thou never leave this gear?
What, do you fall in your fusting fumes at the first? Not the worst of us, but for our honesty with yourself, we'll compare.
Why, Misogonus, into such lewd language dare you burst? What, not your father a little can you spare?
What, are you his spokesman, meddle you with your old shows, and he were my father 10 times, he's half as good as a bring.
Stay a while, Eupelas. I know our labor we shall lose, but yet I'll tell the unthrift of his detestable dealings. Call'st this honest company, or is this an honest sport, to be revelling and boozing after such a lewd fashion? I think hell break loose when thou gatest thee this port. For such thou couldst scarce find in a whole nation.
Why, father, what dishonesty can you lay at our charge? There's none of us, would you should know, neither thieves nor whores.
Thou me strumpet? Aye, speak'st thou so large? Out of my sight, queen, or I'll cart thee by God's bones.
Take heed what you say, master. She comes of a good parentage, misuse her not. I tell you, she's of worshipful blood.
What, come you in with your 7 eggs if I catch you of the vantage? Hold your peace when you're well, friend, or else you were as good.
What if this gentlewoman and your son I have married, may they not then come together without any offence?
I'd rather thou wert hanged, thief, and he to his grave carried, than to marry him, varlet, without my license.
Hast thou married him, priest? Then unknit me this knot. Darest thou keep company with another man's wife? Thou abominable sodomite, thou execrable sot, so God shall judge me, Bill Jack, with pity of thy life.
Why not, sir, as long as he himself is in place? Whatsoever I do proceeds of pure love. I do but what I should do. That's a clear case. To love all and hate none, it doth prelates behove.
Dost thou what thou shouldst do, thou adulterous beast? Shouldst thou be the ringleader in dancing this while? A good minister would be at church now, attending on God's hest. Of all wretches that ever I knew, thou art the most vile.
Art thou so cocked again? What hast thou to do to speak? The priest shall live beside thee. Prate till thy belly ache.
Saucy boy, dost thou think to put us to wreck? If thou dost not amend this, a drudge I'll thee make.
Do your best and your worst, I care not a pin for you, I. I'll keep both her and the rest, and maugre your beard.
Now of truth, it's marvel the house fall not down suddenly. He speaks so outrageously, he makes me afraid.
Keep them. Keep hogs, thief. I'll cut thee full short. Thou'st never enjoy one jot of my land.
With your great words, I tell you, you do greatly. With your great words, I tell you, do you greatly me hurt. When you're dead, let me see who dare me withstand.
I'll get away, for God's sake, rather to them that have need. When thou shalt then whistle and be glad, go to the cart.
For God's sake, marry, so might you do a good deed. Get who you will get. I'll have spite of your heart.
Care not for him, husband. He speaks but in dotage. He may say what he will. He can do you no harm.
Oh Christ, how the drivel doth answer me in mockage. A cuckstool, son. Thou'st be made thy tongue for to charm.
Hold your hands. You were best, and leave her and let her alone. We're able to make you and your two men to faint.
God's cruise, both we and yourself, and trusty Sir John, we four could anger him, and he were a very saint.
A man were as good met a she-bear in the woods, with her whelps at her heels, now roaring for hunger, stirred up with such a furious moods.
In thy youth thou never hadst such hellhounds at thy back. That's other manner of fellows, son, in thy young days.
That was but because discretion he did lack. It's not best for one, sir, any of us to dispraise.
There's no mischief, as they say commonly, but a priest at one end. It were thy part to admonish him his father to obey.
Whensoever I meet you, sir, look at your head that you fend. I'll fart for you all. Come, Melissa, I'll away.
I pray you, Misogonus, no longer contend. You have given them a thread which they'll never untwist.
It's but a folly indeed, wench, more words to spend. Let him say what he will, I'll do what I list. Come then, let's be gone. I'll never strive with him more. His lands are mine, as sure as a club knave. Let the world wag.
We'll follow to Nicole. Honour for. I'll quaff perhaps first, though here I be lag.
So at this point we've had the exit of Misogonus, Sir John, Melissa, and also the two servants as well, leaving Philogonus, Eupelas, and Liturgus alone.
Did you ever hear of a man in more misery than I? Was there ever silly soul that was so condemned? There's no way but one, Eupelas. I shall surely die. My calamities will not cease till my life hath an end.
I am as sorry for your case as if it were mine own. Your anguish and vexation is to me a great smart. But consider, Philogonus, to what end should you groan, seeing there's no remedy? Why should you take it at your heart?
And Eupelas, consider if your son were like mine. Could you choose but lament and sigh very sore?
I could not choose indeed, Philogonus. I must needs whine, then he should be such a one. I would wish him dead before.
All that you that love your children take example by me. Let them have good doctrine and discipline in youth. Correct them betime, lest afterward they be froward and contemptuous, and so bring you to great ruth.
Good master, yet I pray you, make not two sorrows of one, but bear it patiently, as possibly you may.
The best is for you to trust in Christ Jesus alone, and by faith in his mercy yourself but to stay.
It's very true, Eupelas. In him is all my joy. If it were not so, certes, I had done ere this long.
Be you sure, Philogonus, it cannot you greatly annoy, his power in weakness is ever most strong.
I am sorry that you, Eupelas, as often I have troubled. Depart home now, I pray you, and make merry with your wife.
If I could do you good, I would wish my pains doubled. But fare you well, my prayers for you shall be right.
Get thee home also, Liturgus. I'll follow thee straight. My grief here to the Lord, in doleful ditty will I vow.
Oh, sweet master, yourself do not overmuch fret. At your commandment I am ready. I will go my ways now.
And exit Liturgus. And now we have a song. It suggests that this is a lament sung by Philogonus, I think. So the song to the tune of Labodondozohoto. Yes, which we all know. Philogonus, if you could read this song, please.
O mighty Jove, some pity take on me, poor wretch, for Christ's sake. Grief doth me gripe, pain doth me pinch, wilful despite my heart doth wrench. O Christ, thou art my only aid. If thou help'st not, I'm quite dismayed. Spite doth my mind so sore oppress, that this my care will be endless, except thou succourest me at need, and sends me sovereign salve with speed. My sins I willingly confess, hath oft of right deserved no less. I was the cause of this my care, the rod always sith I did spare. If I in time had him correct, I'd never been thus sore affect. 'Tis I that am to blame, myself deserveth shame. I am, O Lord, alone in fault, by suffering this self-will he caught. If Phoebus forced was to lament, when Phaeton fell from the element, if Daedalus did wail and weep, when Icarus in seas was deep, if Priamus had cause to cry, when all his sons was slain in Troy, why should not I then, woeful wight, complain in a more piteous plight? Mine doth not only himself undo, but me full oft doth work great woe. The loss of lands I could well bear, or what things else some love most dear. Unworldly wealth I do not stay. God gave, and he may take away. Disdainful taunts I could have borne, of else that would me scorn. Yea, I could bear't 100-fold. Better to see him laid in the mould, than thus his life in lewdness spent, whereof destruction is the end. A great example here you see. All parents, oh, take heed by me. If you detest unquietness, or if you love true happiness, nurture your youth in awe and fear. Let them their duties often hear. Zzz, had I attained, zzz, whereas now sighs my soul doth sift, and rueful sobs my heart doth rift. To thee, O Lord, I do return, here in this misery as I mourn, desiring, if I may thee please, my pains a little to appease. Though it be far beyond my faith, yet thou canst help, thy gospel saith. Help, Lord, help yet in time, and lay not to my charge this crime. Pardon for that is past I crave, with hope some help of thee to have.
And exit Philologus after this lament help me. This situation escalated really fast. So yeah, Daddy turns up. Everybody's dancing happy. The music stops. Glasses shatter on the ground. And this scene. You're disinherited. Be gone. Oh, I'm married to. Are they married? It's interesting that Sir John steps in and says they're married, but is that presumably a lie? Will they now be married? I'm still not quite sure how true certain statements here are. It's also a question of how long they've been here. So yeah, all goes a bit Pete Tong here. Thoughts from the room. Who wants to leap in? Eric.
I quite enjoyed all the insults and the sort of shade being thrown around. Sort of like, it's a folly indeed. More words to spend. Like, there's no point. I'm not gonna, talk to the hand. I'm not gonna associate with them anymore, kind of thing.
Sir John being a responsible priest, a fart for you all.
Well, the number of times he takes the Lord's name in vain as well.
He's clearly really underlining he's not a very good priest.
No.
Lois.
Yeah, there was an awful lot of this that I didn't understand. I mean, Liturgus's first line, two lines were unintelligible to me. I have no idea what I was saying. And also I realized in the previous scene, I think Cacurgus somehow or other did a card trick or something that got Sir John's gown, didn't it? In fact, got practically everything Sir John was wearing, I think. But it was really hard to tell from the rather limited dialogue. That's something else you'd be working out, I guess, in a workshop.
Yeah, this is almost a line by line, action by action affair, isn't it? You can see the potential of what's going on here, but the details are a bit obscure. And there may be some textual work to be done that will actually tidy up. You'll be amazed how moving a letter here or there suddenly makes a sentence make perfect sense. But first read, we get to a stage where we can get through it and see what we get. Aliki.
I would just like to note how very melodramatic Philogonus is being here. It's like, Priam city was all burned and his son killed, and am I not in the same place? All his children dead, but here I am, my son's a wastrel.
Francis.
Yeah, I find Philogonus the most tiresome character in the whole play. I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again. Oh, woe is me. Oh, woe is me. If you don't beat your children, they'll be the death of you. I mean,
yeah. Maybe that's the lesson we need to learn here, people.
Yeah, I think so.
Lois.
Yeah, but also both in yesterday's reading and today's, he was saying, I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. This is going to kill me. I think that might be meant to be comic.
Yeah.
Rachael.
I don't know. I feel like he's supposed to seem very foolish. Oh my God, I can't pronounce his name. Philogonus, just because he is so over the top. He's just very philosophical, I think, in a way, but not in a but like in a way that he repeats what he learned in school only, not that he actually contemplates it. And also, I said this yesterday, that he doesn't really have any control in his own house at all. So I think that's supposed to be just laughable to the audience or something.
Yes, because the play is pitching, his mistakes in how he raised his son is why his son ends up being a wastrel, and so he does need to be a bit useless on various levels. He understands what he should have done, and to a degree what he should do, but he's clearly not capable of doing any of it. And yeah, regardless of whether you believe that. In corporal punishment for children, the play clearly believes that, and that is what he's clearly not very good at. Whether at this stage in Misogonus's life a sound thrashing is going to change anything, I suspect not. If ever it did. I am being silly. This is not a serious lifestyle choice thing that we should be talking about here. Eric.
I was just wondering, at this point in time, like historically, was education of children compulsory, or was it sort of like dependent on parents, sort of like monetary status and class and that kind of thing?
Who wants to field that one? I'll go to Helen, then Lois.
Yeah. It was very much a class thing, also a sex-based thing. Reading and writing were separate. A lot of the grammar schools were, in fact, free or scholarship or pay what you can are deemed to be able to afford. Below that, the rates of written literacy were low, but the rates of reading literacy were getting increasingly high because reading was becoming a religious duty. Because in the old days, you were preached at and everything was in Latin and you took it on trust. But under Protestantism, everybody was supposed to do their own Bible reading. So reading literacy was whizzing ahead, and there were a lot of very small schools set up, dame school type things.
Lois.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that, but also one reason that a lot of people could read rather than write was I think you had to pay more for writing. And I think something or other I read by some schoolmaster said that some parents pull their kids out of school as soon as they've learned to read because they think that's enough, and they can always make their mark when it comes to writing. It was just much more complicated. There was a special writing master who came in and so on. The Reformation is sometimes referred to as the new learning, and that was sort of the emphasis. The Protestants really did want more schools and more people learning to read the Bible at any rate.
Reading, writing, and washing extra. Aliki.
Which suddenly made me think of the bit between Cacurgus and the book as possibly significant. The priest had a Bible on him, perhaps, which Cacurgus nicks and goes, "Oh, what's that then? Oh, there's a K. I know that word."
Yeah.
Rachael.
I think that also says something else about Philogonus. That he hasn't had his son educated, and maybe that says something about the scene where they're all dicing too, that he's not up on the new Protestant stuff. He's kind of, his son's more debauched in this Catholic way or something that this play is saying, or at least that's how I'm interpreting it with some of this. He's not on the political movement. He's not part of the new regime, and maybe that's something that this play is criticizing, and that people watching this would find Philogonus more funny and less sympathetic because of the way that he's not fulfilling those religious duties.
Helen.
The other thing about schooling was that it involved being beaten. One of the principal attributes of a good schoolmaster, apart from having adequate Latin, was that he should really enjoy flogging small boys. If ever you see a picture of a schoolmaster, he always has a birch bound up in the corner or in his hand. It's a trope, but it's so common that I think it probably has to be true. But
some schoolmasters, were known for going too far, and there is a definition of too far. But yes, there's a lot of.
Well, if the pupil died, it was generally felt to be a bad thing.
Yeah, well, the money stops
loss
coming
of fees.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to move forward, but lots of good thoughts there. I have to say that on the whole, that extended scene there went down considerably better than some of the material we were looking at yesterday. That functioned very nicely as a scene in its own right. So that makes me very happy. Let's see whether Act 3, Scene 1 will make me as happy as well. Let us find out. It's another long scene, and I don't know whether it runs into the scene that follows, but that's as far as we're going today. I may pause mid-scene. I don't know yet. We'll see whether that whim comes upon me. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Codrus with 2 hens in a basket and what looks like there might be an accent involved. But, see what the dialogue gives you there. Good luck.
Oh, Po, come, Jack, heave slow, heave slow. How now, my masters? Did none of you see my sowded sow? There's ne'er a one in our end of the town, I'm sure, hath worse hap. When I set her out to mast, would I had put her to my peas mow. This luck indeed, both bulching and sow gone, all at a clap. Now God and sweet Saint Anthony send me my sow again, and she be gone, is ne'er be able this winter to keep house. If I should always eat curds and buttermilk, it would be my bane. Is it not live a week without puddings and souse? What a cock-a-doodling make the whoreson. Would you need be gone? I'll give ye to one that shall spit you, I want you. By the Americans, will you not leave your cackling? You'll be quackened anon. By my little honesty, I think there's some foul haunts you. Ho, God be here. Where be you, maidens? God be here. What? If there nobody to take my rent hens?
Enter Cacurgus.
Hark, how like a calf, there's one speaks. What fowl have we there? I'll know what that wizard, a god's name, intends.
Fool, I was the wisest that my mother had, and we were 19. I have been elected for my scretion 5 times constable.
Oh, if you had been but once more, 2 fools to the tithe there had been. Ah, good litter, marry, and men to serve a prince well able.
What, William? What, William? Give me that hand of yours, I say. Why, tell me, William, how hast thou done this 7 year?
Ah, it's a good while ago, Codrus, since we 2 ate a bottle of hay. But tell me, old Sincanter, what quick cattle hast thou here?
I brought a couple of capons in my baskets to my old master against Christmas, now to make merry with his friends.
Thy wit runs before thy tongue, thou conceived custer. Thou liest, old Mumpsimus, they're a couple of hens.
It's a good stumble, ne'er horset. I'm sure they were helt. I durst pose o'er the Bible book Alice groped for the stones.
Oh, horse and coxcomb, didst ne'er see hens felled? As true as a...
Nay, but hearest du, William? Won't do one thing for me, and thou won't tell my master, tell my master his thy gaff custer would speak with him vain. And thou wilt, William, thou'st be a good boy, and I'll give thee a new nothing. I'll give thee a fine thing that came from London for your pain.
Give me thy basket. I'll deliver them like a tall fellow myself, and desire him to come to thee here in this station.
Set it then when that's done, or the cupboard, or the shelf. I hope with him now to have some excommunication. If he come, I can tell what to say. I'll spare him a question. I'll tell him, grace of God, and my remembrance do not fail me. What a talk I heard between Madge Mumblecrust and our Alison. I am sure, and I knew all the price of my sow, it would vail me. Ye may lay your life, he'll be glad when he hears of his t'other. For my young master's as wary a dingthrift as e'er went on God's year. He'll not care an aglet for him when he hears of his brother, and no matter by St. Cutbeard, he keeps such a stir.
Okay, I am going to pause here because there's an awful lot to unpack there. I think we can all give a little bit of a cheer for a name check of a generic name, but also used in Ralph Royster Doyster of Madge Mumblecrust.
Yes.
And Merry Greek
We
turned
had,
up
yeah, we
earlier.
did have a Merry Greek earlier as well, so that may or may not be a deliberate callback to that. we've got hen business, and it's interesting. Codrus is talking to the audience and working the audience at the beginning with a very dangerous bit of dialogue, which is expecting the audience to be laughing at his own business. Well, that's how I was reading it. That's a very dangerous thing to put into dialogue, because if they don't do any laughing, then you're a bit screwed. But yeah, will you not leave your cackling? Because
I think he's talking to the hens, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was assuming that was audience business, but maybe I'm horribly wrong, which is why I say it out loud. Because it's also the question of how the hens. What are the hens doing? What are the hens? Is one of the hens a glove puppet? Are we in an emu moment here?
I think they might be alive. I know you're not supposed to act with animals, but what a cockle-a-doodling, make the horse and would you needs be gone? One of them's trying to get away, maybe.
That's why I'm feeling glove puppet for a cage here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that's potential business. Alan, then Eric.
I must admit, I'm getting the feeling that this is almost an interleaved scene. Bring on the two comedy yokels to see if we can wake the audience up a bit.
Well, I mean, I think we're going to find that it's going to intersect with, other characters who matter. And in a sense, actually, it's more the other way around. If the doubling chart at the beginning of the script is accurate, then, for example, Philogonus' long lament is as much a structural thing for Sir John to change to be Codrus, rather than Codrus doing business to give other people a chance to change. So structurally, I don't know if that's exactly the thing. We may find more data on that in a moment. Aliki.
I was thinking about the hens, that they're a nice out if you don't get a laugh. So you have that line in there, and if the hens cackle, they will, fine. If the audience laughs, even better, you can tell them to cease their cackling.
Yeah.
No, I think I just misread it. I think he's just talking to the hens, so people are absolutely right. I'm doing 2 or 3 things at once, so I don't always pay enough attention.
Codrus says it's a good stumble, never horsed. I'm pretty sure that's a proverb that's backwards. He's got it wrong. It's a good horse, never stumbled. It's a good horse that never stumbled. In other words, everybody makes mistakes.
And we've had that before in this play, haven't we? Proverbs turned around.
Eric.
I was going to say that it's interesting, like with the 2 hens and a basket as well. My brain just went, Lentulo, he's back. And I'm like, wait, no, that doesn't really work. Different play.
Wrong play.
But it's still kind of that comedy thing of having 2 animals that are misbehaving in a basket.
You know those double hinged baskets? Big shopping basket with a half lid and a half lid on either side of the... maybe that was a standard bit of comedy business, because there's so much you can do with that. You can take it and go, kind of stuff.
Well, I say, I'm just seeing a fake arm business here, and the other arm is up there, and you just go... the potential there. And I don't know if that's going too far.
This is not a Muppet movie.
No, but
It should be.
we usually devolve. We haven't done any Muppet casting for quite a while, so I have to say, we should get back to our roots. Anyway, we need to move on. That's there's a lot there to decode in terms of we've got some dialogue going on, dialogue. Of which we would probably need to disentangle a bit more. We've got some more damage in the manuscript, so there are occasional little gaps. There's a few more of those coming up, not too many. But anyway, the Codrus and Cacurgus are now joined by Philogonus.
Here he comes, Custer. Hold to deliver them with thy own hands. He'll give thee somewhat, and thou makest curse thee down to the ground.
Good deed, master. Ja brought you 2 hoochicles in my morns. Do you not hear of nobody that my souded sow hath bound?
God have mercy, Custer. I'll make thee one day amends. What be they, I pray thee? Are they a couple of capons?
Bum vey, I said so, and Master William makes me believe they be hens. God's dainty chill be plain to you, I took them e'en as it happens.
Take them thou, Will, and carry them forthwith to the cook, and bid him fat them well, against I make a feast.
They were capons till I changed them. He that lists may go look. A shilling by this match I have got at the least.
And exit Cacurgus.
How is it with you, master? Methink you look sad. What? I would have you use mirth and rejoice your heart now. You be sorry indeed if my caging you had. My bulging turned up his heels at Martinmas, and now I lost my sow.
That's a great loss for a poor man, but mine is much more. Would I had lost all that ere I had, condition I had found one.
To lose all by St. George, master, that would go sore. Belackings, no, sir, one might shoe the goose, and all were gone.
God help me, Custer, I know not well what I speak. I am so troubled in my mind. My son so ungracious. I know not what to say.
Why? Is it not possible some policy to find? I would not blin an I were in your coat till I had tried every way.
I have tried every way with him. He's quite past grace. Would I could try some way now to bring myself consolation.
I'll bring you some. Aye, or else I'll give you my cow with white face. I can do it, and that whitely. I speak without semblation.
Canst thou do it, Custer? Now I would to God thou couldst. In that condition I gave thee the price of 10 swine.
If I do it not, let me never hear after coming your something. By God's sacrament, if I do it not, I'll be bound something.
Let me hear then, Custer, what comfort canst thou bring? Doubt not of my promise, thou knowest me of old.
And you knew as much as I know. I'm sure you both laugh and sing. You being jocunda cum amicis, and you had all told.
Why, what is it, Codrus? I pray thee, tell me without delay. Beside that I give thee, I'll be thy friend all the days of thy life.
Oh, that can't be me. I went off stage. That must be Codrus.
Yeah, that must be Codrus, yeah.
Okay. If I say I can tell, I can tell. Indeed. What day is it today? How long is it since the death of my mistress, your wife?
Is this the comfort I'st have? By thy talk thou makest me in a greater quandary. This thy remembrance of her, Custer, is a poor sieve to my heart.
Ah, God rest her. God have mercy on her soul, and St. Mary. Is there a qualming come over your stomach? I warrant you spare it.
Thy foolish words have made me more heavy than ever I were. Tell me to what end of my wife thou madest mention.
I wottle well enough how she served you. Did you never hear, though I be a fool in me talk, shave always come tension?
Why, how did she serve me? Declare it me plain. Pray thee, tell me quickly without tracting of time.
I'll go fetch our Alison and come straightway again. She had wit enough to tell you. Her capidosity is better than mine.
Alas, good silly soul, has told me a tale here o' the man i' the moon. Some matter he talks of, if I knew what he meant.
Mass, I'll tell you, though I lack returns, and she'd mend it soon. Why, mastermind, did never hear yet whither your son was sent?
Sent? Why, whither should he be sent? He never went abroad. I ween thou art tipsy. Didst not come from the alehouse late?
Yea, yea, faith, he has been far than e'er I'll have. On Talian ground he ne'er trod, and for bibbling I would you should know I do it foully hate.
Ye not angry, Codrus. Thou hast brought me, truly, in a great suspense. I pray thee, speak so at one word as I may understand.
I'll speak plain English now. He's gone 1,000 mile hence, and you'll not trust me. Call Alison and hear the matter scanned.
That is impossible to be, unless thou talk'st of another. Thou makest me, without doubt, wonderfully to maze.
Why, God's duty, master, I meant all this while the t'other. Do you think that such loud lie Custer Codrus could face?
What other mean'st them? I had never more sons than one. I am at my wit's end with thy talk, by God's mother.
Why, and you'll not believe me. I'll go fetch our Alison. You shall see, and she doth not tell you that my young master has a brother.
There never was poor mariner amidst surging seas, catching a glimmering of a port whereunto he would sail, so much distract twixt hope of what health and fear his life to lease, as I, even now, with hope do hang, and eke with fear do fail.
Alison, what? Alison! What mean'st, woman? Sits all day by the fire? Come, thou makest good haste. Thus thou wouldst serve me, and I lay a...
And we never find out what he would lay. Alison enters now, having spent the last sort of 10 minutes going, look, I could tell you something, but I could get someone else who'll tell it better. But no, you insist, I'll tell you. Okay, yeah, but there's someone else who can tell you. It'll be so much better. And finally, we have reached the bit mentioned by the prologue that there's another son that is available. So this shouldn't be a surprise for anyone who was paying attention at the beginning, but it has been quite a long time since this particular piece of data was thrown at us once in passing at the very beginning of the play. That this is a thing. Philogonus has a spare.
I thought Philogonus knew that he had another son.
Oh.
No, it does not seem to be. No.
No, clearly not.
Well, so yeah, I don't think it's outsourced parenting in that sense. No, maybe his late lamented wife sort of knew what he'd be like and just thought, I'll just the other one I'll send to someone else, because you know what, I see this going very badly. We don't know the story yet because Alison hasn't come on yet. Yes, I just thought it was important to mark that. Any brief thoughts before we finish the scene? Alan, then Eric, then Lois.
I must admit, I was slightly confused by the number of times that Custer was used as an address, because it's unusual to have low status characters having two names.
I do. Well, I see no reason why they can't. Yeah. Seems fine to me. Eric.
I was gonna say maybe this is like the whole like nurture versus nature type thing, or just the fact that twins end up being polar opposites. Usually.
You have the good twin and the evil twin, or maybe they'll both turn out to be evil.
Are they twins? Are they twins?
One assumes so.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember if it was mentioned in the prologue. It was such a long time ago.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, how you...
Two twins. Yes, does say two twins.
Oh, okay.
Lois.
Just that I think this is really rather good scene. I mean, the exposition of some really important piece of information being dragged out as long as possible, and also with the fact that Codrus is clearly the sort of nice clown as opposed to the nasty clown in Cacurgus.
Yes, and he's had his chickens taken away from him now, so they've gone off. So potential upstaging by birds has been greatly reduced.
Yeah, I still don't know quite what happened there. I mean, Cacurgus says that he changed them. And did he? I can't figure out how he could possibly have done this on stage, changed a couple of capons for a couple of hens, and then presumably he's swindling Codrus out of the money he ought to get for the capons, which would be a lot more valuable. Or is he just talking rubbish? I don't know.
Francis.
I think
Helen.
Helen might have an answer to Lois's question.
Oh.
I don't know. Do you, Helen?
Yeah, well, I have a theory.
Oh, right.
Which is that Codrus comes along and says his wife has searched them and has fixed the capons. And Cacurgus manages to convince him that they're not actually capons, they're hens. So he thinks he's only delivered hens, but in fact he has delivered capons. And our friend is going to pocket the difference. But I don't think he's going to get money. I think this is a credit deal because it's part of his rent.
Yeah, his rent hens. That makes sense. Francis?
Yeah, I couldn't understand why Philogonus was, asking advice from, a simple hen keeper like Codrus. I mean, it kind of makes Philogonus an even more ridiculous character than he already is.
Well, the thing is, just because Codrus has a certain way of speaking doesn't mean that he's an idiot. I mean, he seems perfectly sensible chap on the whole. I'm
not sure I agree.
Lois, then Rachael.
No, and Philogonus seems to like characters like that. I mean, he's fond of Cacurgus because he thinks, this simple fellow will be more truthful. And I think he probably likes Codrus for the same reason, a nice, simple, plain, truthful person, which in fact Codrus seems to be as far as one can make out.
Yeah. Rachael?
No, I just thought Philogonus was saying this to Codrus because he's his boss. He's just complaining to somebody who knows can't walk away from his complaints that easily, or he's just so self-pitying that he says this to everybody and he's like, oh, you have to hear what's happened to me. Because there's some line of Philogonus's where he's like, I don't know, he just says that he's worse off than anyone almost. Yeah.
So all his friends have stopped listening to his complaints, and he's got to lay it onto his servants. I like that. We're saying that Codrus is nice. For all we know, this is all a terrible lie. He and Alison have worked together to get their own child to inherit all the. I'd love this to be a massive con. I suspect it won't be. But that would be a twist for later on. That if it turns out, oh no, we're not charming rustics at all. No, we're in fact very clever social climbers, and we have a cuckoo. But that's not going to happen. So forgive me. Okay, we have the rest of the scene to read. Alison enters now. So it's effectively a three-hander for, I think, the rest of the session. And Codrus is still talking as Alison comes on stage.
God's my arms, Alison. Should tricks thee with thy best tire. Thou look'st as though thou hast been in some heap of ashes.
Why, what's the matter that thou wouldst have me so fine? Thou wert wont to like me well enough in my...
For that sow that's gone, I'll help thee to 10, if the fault be not. Come, thou must go to my master. He sends for thee, by cock.
What? Didst tell him of the matter we talked on last week? How many miles he were hence, and that he were his eldest son?
I cleared it as well as I could, and he would needs have me thee go and seek. Prove it true, and we'st have sows enough, Alison. Come, let us run. Lo, there she is. Now, sir, simple though she be, for the fault of a better, She's not bookish, but she'll place her words as discreetly as some of those that be.
That's no matter a rush, Codrus, and she no ne'er a letter. If she can make manifest this thy talk, that's enough for me.
I'm glad to see your worship's worshipful mastership in good heel. What is the cause, saving your reverence, that for me you do send? If it be for your own commodity, or for the commonweal, I will tell you with all my heart, as God shall me mutterance lend.
Nay, she's elegant indeed. She would chaunt this extrumpery a whole day. I had rather than the best sheep I had my tongue were but half so nimble.
Thy husband here taunts of my wife, and of a son I have gone a great way. Speak in this case what thou knowest, and do not dissemble.
My sweet mistress, now, our sweet lady of Walsingham, be with her, sweetly sweet soul. I have bid many a prayer for her both early and late.
Faith, and so have I. There's ne'er a day but I have her in my bedroll. I say de profundis for her every night according to the old rate.
Pray for her no more, but rather give God praise. Your prayers are but superstitions, and she, I hope's at rest. You love her, it seems, so did I, and shall do all my days. But now to pray for ourselves here while we live, I count it best.
Lo you, Alison, were master is o' the new learning. Did not I tell you before? You'll not be ruled ye ne'er learned that of me.
Some other time of these matters you may debate more. Whither thy talk tends, Alison, let me now see.
Custer, did you tell my master anything before I came hither? Speak if you had, when you made an end. I'll begin.
As well as my mother wit would serve me. I told him all the circumstance together. I did it prettily well, and I'll have thee do it. Vine.
Oh, master, it was as love child as ever woman bore. It went to my heart when I saw it sent quite away.
Why, whither was it sent, Alison? My child was ever within door. Your talk doth so astonish me, I cannot tell what to say.
Goodly Lord, are you so ingram? Did you ne'er hear of Polonia land? And did you ne'er know your wife's brother that there doth dwell?
Yes, Mary, that I do. All this I do well understand. But what mean'st of that country and of my brother me to tell?
What mean I? Marry, thither your son and heir was sent.
What, my son?
Yea, your son, I tell you, I am in no drunken fit.
Say'st thou that my son and woman too?
I said it, I.
By that saying thou makest me almost out of my wit.
How say you now, master? Do not our Alison and I agree in one tail jump? Ye may see we are as true as steel, we both on a scorn to lie.
Care not, master. Yes, not need for this egg story to be in a dump. This is a true as the gospel. There's Mo can tell as well as I.
Thou say'st it's true, but how can't be true? I had never more wives than one, and she, after Misogonus was born, within a week took her death.
I talk not of Sogonus, I talk of your t'other son. What a blindation are you in? Why, my mistress had 2 babes at a birth.
O merciful Lord God, if I might crave it without offense, grant that these tidings may be true which I hear.
God's blessings of thy sweetheart, Alison. Now I'll say, thou'rt a good. I'll bestow a penny in apron strings on the next market for this gear.
Though I say it and should not say it, I was her midwife. I can show you good tokens and arguments that this is so.
By the same token that he had 2 thumbs on 1 foot. Tut, she stood by. Ponder the matter well. If she should not know it, who should know?
What? Dost take the tail out of my mouth? Should tell then for Alison, and thou'lt needs had talked thyself, and say no more, but tell true.
God's bluthernales, dame, where had we you? Are you now in your Crillison? And thou sayest I lie, thou liest, as thou bakest, so shalt brew.
Aye, list thou me, cuckoldy knave, I'll have thee in my memorandum. I may chance make thee lie in the dust ere long for thy lying.
Thou'rt a crow-trodden whore. I'll not suffer thee, and thou wert my grandam. And that's not for this talk, ne'er trust me ill-keeving.
Threatens me, old?
Hold thy tongue, abomination gom.
Nay, I'll descry thee to the officials, as I am true maid, thou naughty pack.
Scry me to the fish-eels? Nay, then have at thee, tomboy Tom. Thou a maid, thou'rt a jade. Before I knew thee, thou wert an old ridden jack.
Nay, good neighbours, no more of this rule, but to the matter return. Leave me not in the briars, now you have told me thus much of my son.
By this light that shines, master, all the fault you may seize in her. I would never have had foul word had she not begun.
And I had gone forward in my tale, and thou hadst not egged me like a fool.
I neither egged thee nor colloped thee. If I had egged ye, thou mightst yet cheese.
I'll tell on, master, if you can make him keep his fool's bolt.
Be quiet a while, Codrus. I'll bestow on you both a good liberal fees.
Where left I last? At Polonia or at my mistress's deliverance?
At this party thou talk'st of 2 children she had at one birth.
Till I can prove this true, and you will, lay me fast in durance.
How by this, master, do you not now gin to feel some comfort and mirth?
Whether it be for mirth or for sorrow, I'm ready to weep. My mind doth now languish in such a wonderful perplexity.
Fear you not, sir. I hope to reduce you from your sorrows most deep. Tranquility of mind and most blissful felicity. My mistress, I say, had 2 sons, whereof in good time be it spoken, she sent away closely to her brother far hence. Toes on his right foot, which may be a good token. Of his foot she had some... For she was counselled, as they say, by a certain learned man, if she had 2 sons, the eldest to send to her brothers afar, telling her of his good destiny, which she, remembering then, conveyed him close away, making none but me only aware.
O God, which is mercy's art infinite and also most just, can these news be true which of this woman I hear told? Thou never failst them, I know, that in thee put their trust, which makes me in giving credence to her somewhat more bold.
I did but jibe, Alison. I love ye well enough, wench, for all that. For the good disorder that thou keeps in the tale, I must needs give thee a buss.
Away, whoreson, I must answer my master. Now here's no time to chat. When we are alone in the cellar, soon we may one another cuss.
What proof can you bring of this matter? You were not eye witnesses both. This thy tale, beside thyself dost thou know any that will justify?
By this fire that burneth, that's God's angel, I swear a great oath. It's as true as I am true. In me you shall ne'er find dishonesty. There was not many present indeed, when this feat were done. My mistress only of his sending away me privy did make, but that she had another, and that he were her eldest son, 2 of my gossips knoweth also, which, to be true, their oath will take.
It's 20 years since this was done. Why keep'st it so long close? And this so wonderful a thing be true, why didst not tell me of this?
I'd not told you now, but that my husband begun. I do it now perforce. She swore me so, and you know what a great thing an oath is.
But who be thy other gossips that can testify the same? I would gladly hear of as many as could witness this tale.
Cock, Currow's wife, and Isbel Busby. I can tell you their name. Though we're poor, yet we're true and trusty. It's no tale of Jacamale.
And you'll have the truth tried. Send to your brother out of hand. That's the best and the surest way that I can devise.
By the Mousefoot, do so, master. Fetch him to his own natural land. Let him be no longer yond sea, master, and you be wise.
I'll follow your counsel. By Jesu, Liturgus shall go forward tomorrow. I hope if the wind serve him, within this month he'll come again.
I trust now, sir, you'll let me 60 of yourselves borrow. Lady blessed, this was all long of me. Hope you'll consider my pain.
But no doubt, Codrus, thou'st have sows, I promise thee plenty, and if my son come in safety, thou'st ne'er pay me penny rent.
By St. Bridget, Alison, bacon and pork fleshy's dainty. Say you me so, master? By my trollet, we'll then have one merriment.
Here's somewhat onward. Depart home for this time, and look you be ready to bear witness, if need shall require.
Mass, Alison, for my master's sake, a Polonia will essay. But let's home now and have a pot of the best with a toast of the fire.
And exeunt Codrus and Alison.
O happy man, if this be true, O thrice and four, before the fatal sisters three have woven my fate, if this, I say, be true, I hope to joy some to and fro with fear and hope my life. Mock on, Misogonus, if thou wilt. If God another sends, I care not. He, as by right, shall have my goods and lands. I'll set thee light, I warrant thee, till thou these faults amends. Which yet, if thou repent, thou'st find great courtesy at my hands. But I'll now go send Liturgus to my brother in great haste, desiring him by a loving letter to demise my son and heir. After that I'll show my friend Eupelas what tidings at the last God hath revealed by a miracle most wonderful and rare.
And exit Philogonus, preparing for the spare to arrive. Yeah, that makes everything better. What a fascinating scene. Because yes, it is doing exposition, but it's not. It's a relationship between Alice and Codrus, which is where they just get into this argument about no, I'm telling the story. So what point in the story had you got to? I'm not going to waste my time repeating things. And it's the fact that Philogonus just gets forgotten and sort of has to step in and say, because and they go into all sorts of different directions with it. Codrus, I'll give you a kiss, and Alison says, no, not now. Later. So it's they clearly get on even if they have these moments. It's a really lovely relationship. I dare say Alison's line, "Custard, did you tell my master anything before I came hither?" It's just yeah. And also I'll have thee in my memorandum. I think it's a lovely way of thinking. I'm going to remember this. Thoughts from the room about this scene, Briony?
Alison's just won it for me. Like I like this play now. That's decided me. She's brilliant.
Yeah, I have to say, last session we were struggling, and I was going, I'm not really sure what to do with this text, and now I know what to do with this text. I don't know, tomorrow we may have other problems emerging, but I can now look back at what happened yesterday going, okay, the bits that I have a problem with can probably go. And the stuff that I really like can stay with a vengeance. And there's some stuff that you can just keep in as, that's sort of what the time was like. But there's some stuff that can just actually quietly be dropped. And it all seems to hold together. More on that tomorrow when we get through the rest of the material, especially as we need to create material as well. So there's a question of what can go as well as what can be added. And that gives us a lot of options with a play like this. And now that we've got some really good material to work with, that makes me very happy. Francis.
Yeah, it's a great scene, and you could have a lot of fun with it on stage. When Codrus first calls Alison, for some reason I just assumed she was his daughter, but it was only halfway through the scene I realized, oh, they're married.
Yes, there's a point in the play where they really have to be, otherwise it's really weird. Eric.
I find it interesting that like you kind of wait for him to sort of go, okay, so what am I gonna do? Philogonus, and then he has all these like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And then like there isn't the growth of the character. He just like magically finds a new heir to leave things to, and basically that's his plan. He doesn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, Philogonus is sort of just wandering around as this slightly cardboard quality to him of, that he's there to do what the play is sort of to do, whereas everybody else seems real. And it's sort of something weird about that. I don't know if that's just me. Briony.
I was just considering we waited all this time for some female characters, and actually I've enjoyed both of them as well, because Melissa's, I don't know, I haven't fully worked her out yet, but I think she's a naughty one. I think there's more to her than we quite saw. But yeah, it's been possibly worth the wait for the ladies to show up.
Yes, it has made such a difference. Aliki, were you wanting to leap in, or was I wrong?
I think I was, but I've just forgotten. Can you ask somebody else?
Yeah, who else wants to leap in? Alan?
I must admit, I was finding it somewhat of a disconnect because the speech patterns of Codrus and Alison are so different. That sort of reduced plausibility as far as I was concerned.
I don't think she is. I think she just doesn't have as broad an accent. She has some interesting ways of speaking. She has some interesting word choices. I think that she's more actively listening to other people. You get the impression that Codrus is just happily living in his own world and doesn't do much chatting with people very often, whereas Alison does, and she's engaged with the world around her. The whole, she's picked up words like memorandum, what a blindation are you in, so they're these really interesting word choices. You're right, they don't speak in the same way, but we have that in, say, Gamma Gurton's Needle as well, where everybody has a slightly rustic accent, but some have markedly more rustic accents than others. So I think the play is doing something actually quite clever. Francis, then Lois, then
Lois was first.
Lois is muted at present, so we all lose.
Well, Codrus makes the point that Alison speaks much better. I mean, that's why he keeps wanting to get her. He knows that she can tell this story better. There's some wonderful words and phrases in this. I like God's blotherkins. No idea what it means, but it sounds like something one could easily say.
It's by the mouse foot, which I assume is mass by mass or something like that. It's got weirdly changed for fun. Francis?
Yeah, I think Alison could also be sort of putting on slight verbal airs because she's talking to somebody above her station in life. I think there could be an element of that with Alison, which adds to the comedy, of course.
Yeah, and yes, Aliki, then Rachael.
So this is calling back to what you said about Philogonus being a bit of a cardboard character. I think you need that because then you have this stodgy, self-pitying old fart, and around him this carnival of weirdos just carousing and pulling his nose.
there's something excessive about his whining. It's reminding me slightly of some of the Josephs you get in some mystery plays, of being this ridiculously miserable sod. Not always, but sometimes. So there's something there, perhaps. Rachael, then Helen.
About the verbal errors thing, after Philogonus speaks to her for the first time, I'm glad to see your worshipful mastership. She's putting on this stuff, so I think there are some, I don't know, she's using bigger words specifically for speaking to Philogonus.
Helen.
Yes, you've got the little Reformation debate too, which rather places both Alison and Codrus and Philogonus. They are both praying to the saints, specifically to the Virgin for the late Mrs. Philogonus. And they've got a bead roll. And Philogonus is saying, pray for her no more. Your prayers are but superstitions. I'm glad you love her, but. So I think we've got to add firm Protestant adherence to Philogonus's other characteristics. Now, depending on how the writer of the play, which way he swings, this could either be approval or disapproval.
Yes, especially considering what Philogonus is like. But maybe he doesn't land that way in performance or in performance then. We're into extra time, so it's time to round the room for final thoughts. If you don't have any final thoughts, that's fine. We'll move on. But if you have anything to add, for everyone who's been here since yesterday, as we go into as close to the end as we can get with this text, hopes, fears, staging thoughts, any final thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, I think it works quite well. Certainly this section that we've done here strikes me as being very much more suited to physical action than to reading. I think there would have been an awful lot of physical activity, particularly the first scene we did with the card playing and the dancing, dicing. And I just wonder, in fact, how many of the words were intended to land, or whether it was, yes, there's verbiage going on, but the attraction to the audience would have been the physicality.
How things are cued, how things are structured. Yeah, this is one to really unpack physically. I think that's absolutely right. And yeah, it's quite exciting because it's quite nice to say we've got a target. We know what we need to do to make those scenes fly. Lois, any final thoughts?
Well, it's a play that needs masses of annotation. Partly because there do seem to be a lot of dialect words, and I wonder what region this is from. At one point somebody used the word spear to mean ask, which I thought was Scottish. Presumably it's Northern England, I don't know, but I don't know, just a lot of that is difficult. A lot of the jokes are difficult. A lot of the business is difficult. I have no idea what's going on some of the time. They're clearly, I think Cacurgus is probably doing a lot more kind of cheating tricks than one quite realizes, and pulling the wool over people's eyes. And there seem to be funny things happening just generally. No, it's very enjoyable, but it needs an awful lot of work.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Cacurgus hasn't done really anything per se today. He may have been doing physical business, but he's only really been commenting on action. He hasn't really driven any action today in overt sense. So it's a really interesting question as to what that character is structurally doing in today's session. It's slightly clearer in the first session, but even there, the more I look at it, it's a very hollow part. In terms of how he actually interacts with the rest of the play. He's not really driving anything in any particularly important way.
No, he's a satiric commentator, but one thing he does do, he goes off stage saying he's going to, I think, to bring Philogonus to see his son with this raffish crowd, and Philogonus does come in at the beginning of the next scene. Cacurgus isn't there, probably because he's doubling somebody, but anyway, it's he does move the action on, but mostly in rather subtle ways.
Yes, but that's also sort of a bit of a problem for us because he exits to bring the father, but there is no gap. There's nothing in between that happening. So unless the dancing just continues for a bit, which is possible, or there's something missing or something out of place, that raises as many questions as it does answers.
It's probably a drinking song. I mean, when in doubt, you know. Yeah. Incidentally, that song that Philogonus sings, that was a very well-known tune. It turns up again in Eastward Ho, which is why I know. And it's borrowed from something called, I think, Manningham's Farewell. It was one of those lost good night things that somebody sang at the gallows to that tune.
Oh, always a cheerful.
Yeah.
Eric, any final thoughts?
I think the best part of the play so far has been like the sort of interaction between husband and wife, between Codrus and Alison, which it's just really well written, sort of compared to the rest of it. I mean, not to say that the rest of it is bad, but it's just sort of not as human, I guess, or not as real. It just feels very sort of, old couple arguing kind of energy. And yeah, I enjoyed that. That was just also just the insults, the whole like sort of, we'll do it later. And yeah, I also, having done Gristle last week, it was like, okay, this is just the other take on that play, isn't it? Because it kind of like, we've sent one child off to be, how do you call it? To be raised somewhere else for a reason we don't really understand. And yeah, and like we're already sort of talking about discipline and stuff. It's just, yeah.
Yes, I have to say there was a point yesterday when I was sort of looking at the schedule of what we was. I was going, this is getting a bit bread on bread in a slightly triggering way, and I'm so glad that today has not been doing that. It is a relief, frankly. Rachael, any final thoughts?
No, I'm just glad that it has changed its mind today, that it's kind of become very tonally different and lightened up. I enjoyed the last scene very much. That was very nice. It was very, I don't know, a lot lighthearted than yesterday, more lighthearted than yesterday's session. So I am very relieved about that.
Absolutely. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, in agreement with what people have said. Like, obviously that last scene was knockout, really enjoyable to listen to and to be part of. I'm getting some probably very unintentional kind of feminist vibes from this play now, because the women are the ones that are doing it right, as far as I can see. It's the late Mrs. Philogonus who's had the foresight to realise that her husband was going to ruin their youngest son, so she's kept the other one secret and got rid of him so that he's out of harm's way and can be raised into a nice chap. And then you've got even when Melissa was on in that scene, she was in control there. Like you say, she was probably the only one that wasn't tipsy or worse. And yeah, I just feel like the women have made me proud today thus far.
And what I also quite like about the usability of this scene, again thinking for other purposes, is if you actually change what the story they're trying to tell, you could swap it out and still keep this situation of trying to tell a story around it. So I'm quite liking this as going, this is usable business. I like this. Remember, this is as much about looking for things we can steal in our own lives and our own practices as well. I like material like this. This is a very good idea for a scene. It should be used more often. Probably has been. If you have thoughts on that, put something in the comments. Francis, you weren't here yesterday. How have you found today?
I'm very much in two minds about this play. On the one hand, it has this, terrible message, beat your children or they'll be the death of you. And as Lois says, it's very perplexing at times. I mean, you don't know what the hell's going on or what they're talking about. And as Eric has pointed out, Philogonus's character doesn't develop, and it doesn't look as if Misogonus's character is going to develop either. We've got this long lost brother coming in, which is Deus Ex Machina at its worst. And but you've got these great little scenes like the gambling and the one between Codrus and Alison. So I am looking forward to tomorrow to seeing how all this plays out.
Helen, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I really took to the pub scene. The dicing, the drinking, the length of it, the amount of commentary on the gaming terms, the dancing terms, there's a tremendous amount of social history in there. And then Codrus and his agricultural problems are also extremely interesting. I shall be sending him to an professor of agricultural history of my acquaintance who will not have encountered him before, because historians don't read plays on the whole. And he will be absolutely delighted.
Excellent. Aliki, final thoughts?
Yeah, apart from a scene or two, I'm not that sure I'm interested in staging it as a play, but like Helen, I'm fascinated by the little social clues. I would love to know exactly what's going down in the gambling scene. I would love to be able to pick apart the religious discussions. I would love to have another kind of look at the whole taverns and wenches and thing of it, and the relation between city and country. There's so much that's interesting material to teach you about the period and what's going on. I'm not certain we can stage any of it in anything that approximates the humor with which it was written.
I'm feeling much more positive about that as a possibility. I'm not saying that it would have to be adapted simply on the principle that there's if nothing else, there are lots of gaps. There are also problematic things that I would almost certainly remove. But now I can see how you could do it. Yesterday, I couldn't see a route through at all for this text, whereas today I can, or I think I can. Tomorrow, it will be blown out of the water.
I wanted to say, too, that a lot of people have contrasted yesterday to today, but I wonder if it's just that we've tuned into it now. Because once we see that Philogonus' speeches are self-pityingly hilarious, then the whole tone of that first half changes.
I'm not so sure, because nothing really... There wasn't that much that actually happened yesterday, or at least we didn't see very much that happened. There was a scene where potentially things happened, but we either had reported things that happened off stage, or the scene where something might have happened was unfortunately missing. So that's sort of the fundamental difference, is that there's a lot more going on today than yesterday, and that was sort of the other problem I had. Beyond the basic problem of Cacurgus as a concept almost. But yeah, there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go. Alan?
I think actually part of the difference is the tempo has changed, because we had, 5, 6, 7 scenes yesterday that all went very, very quickly. And we've had 3 today, which have filled the same amount of time, but with obviously a lot more physical happening on stage. So the mood, I think, has changed in part because of that structure issue within the play.
Yeah, even though the structure that's a bit of an illusion, because in a sense, actually, we only did 2 scenes yesterday. There were only 2 units of action, though it was broken up into scenes.
Yeah.
They were actually one long scene, and then we did another shortish scene, which set up what we did today. So actually, we've only really had 4 scenes in the entire play that I would really call fundamental units of action. But that stopping it, we've done much less stopping and starting today. We've just given it its head, because that's how it was structured. So that does make a difference sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I can kill the play off by stopping it too often. We had that with Lily occasionally. Eric?
What I found interesting is that today's section was mostly written in couplets, and it was a really long scene to be written in couplets. If you think, I mean, they're not rhyming couplets; they rhyme alternately with each other. One character rhymes with the other character.
Quatrain is the word you're after.
Yeah, and it's just kind of very interesting choice in terms of, I don't know, pace and rhythm and the way you speak it.
But we have sadly run out of time, unless anyone is bursting to say something vitally important, and they're not going to be here tomorrow to fill us in at a future point. We're going to close this session with an element of hope that maybe out of this there is a potential greater than we'd had after the first session. But as we all know, the curse of the final session may strike again, and we may all find ourselves terribly, terribly depressed. And on that note, I'd like to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful work today. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Let them ring till their arses ache.